Jeremy Wade was born on March 23, 1956, in Aldershot, a quiet town in Hampshire, England. At the time, Britain was slowly recovering from the effects of World War II, and life in Aldershot reflected that. The streets were calm, the pace of life was measured, and families were focused on stability and routines. Jeremy's father was an architect who spent his days drawing blueprints, while his mother maintained the home with careful attention, making sure everything ran smoothly. To anyone looking from the outside, it was a perfectly ordinary life, without adventure, danger, or unusual interests. Yet, something inside young Jeremy would not stay ordinary. Even in this quiet setting, there was a curiosity that set him apart. When Jeremy was 5, his family took a trip to a nearby river. As a fun experiment, he made a tiny fishing rod out of garden canes and string. It looked ridiculous, but he put a small piece of bread on the hook and dropped it into the water. To his surprise, he felt a tug and saw a tiny perch break the surface. That small fish sparked something powerful in him. From that day on, Jeremy begged to go fishing every weekend. He even brought dried fish heads to school as part of his fascination, which puzzled his teachers. While other boys were kicking footballs or climbing trees, Jeremy would crouch beside streams, quietly watching the shadows move beneath the water. He seemed to notice everything others ignored, and it was clear that he had found something he loved deeply. Throughout the 1960s, Jeremy spent his summers wandering through ponds, streams, and countryside paths near his home. He carried a notebook wherever he went, sketching fish, frogs, insects, and anything else he found. He visited the library so often that staff knew him by name, sometimes greeting him 5 times a week. Even before he turned 7, he was labeling species with real scientific terms. His sketches were precise, and he carefully recorded observations, showing a discipline and focus unusual for a child his age. These early experiences taught him patience and attention to detail, qualities that would define his life later on. However, childhood curiosity came with dangers. At the age of 10, Jeremy heard a rumor about a giant eel living in a muddy stream. Excited and determined to see it for himself, he rushed to the stream but slipped into the mud and water. He sank until a passerby rescued him. The incident terrified his family, who forbade him from exploring rivers alone. But Jeremy's curiosity was unstoppable. Instead of giving up, he began sneaking out at night. He carried a small net, his trusty notebook, and a need to understand every hidden corner of the river. 1 year later, after moving to Iping, he discovered an abandoned tackle shop. Dusty shelves and forgotten equipment seemed useless to most, but to Jeremy, it was a treasure trove. Each night, he slipped inside, borrowed old rods and hooks, and fished quietly until dawn. Landing a small roach felt like winning a medal, and he meticulously measured and recorded every detail in his notebook. Jeremy's school years continued to reflect his unique interests. When he enrolled at Uppingham School in 1968, he brought all his river knowledge with him. Most students were interested in sports and games, but Jeremy focused on biology. He turned empty classrooms into laboratories, filling them with jars, sketches, and specimens he collected from rivers and streams. His friends started calling him the Fish Whisperer, impressed by his ability to predict when fish would spawn or how they would behave in different seasons. Trips to the Scottish Highlands during family vacations expanded his understanding of rivers and wild fish. There, he caught his first salmon, Instead of keeping it, he released it, showing a respect for wildlife that would become central to his life philosophy. By the time he was 16, Jeremy had already experienced life-threatening events that shaped his character. On one occasion, while collecting fish for a school biology project on the Norfolk Broads, a sudden storm capsized his small boat. Cold water surrounded him, and he had to fight the current for over 2 miles to reach shore, still holding onto his fish bag. This terrifying experience taught him the power and unpredictability of water, and the importance of survival skills. It was during these early experiences that Jeremy developed the patience, observation skills, and courage that would later define his career as a river monster hunter. As Jeremy prepared for university, his father wanted him to take a safe path into engineering, but Jeremy had already decided on zoology. This caused tension at home, with long debates around the dinner table. Jeremy's father emphasized job security, while Jeremy spoke passionately about rivers, fish, and the wonders of the natural world. By the time he graduated from school in 1974, Jeremy had compiled extensive notebooks filled with sketches, observations, and a monster list of the most extraordinary freshwater fish he hoped to encounter. These early notebooks contained the names of Goliath tigerfish, arapaima, and giant catfish, creatures that would later become the focus of his professional expeditions and television series. After finishing school, Jeremy entered the University of Kent in 1974, determined to study zoology with a focus on freshwater ecology. From the start, he approached his studies with the same intensity and curiosity that had driven him as a child. He was fascinated by the behavior and migration patterns of freshwater fish, particularly large species like the European catfish, which can grow over 3 meters long and weigh more than 130 kilograms. His research often took him into polluted or difficult-to-access rivers, where he collected samples and observed fish in challenging conditions. Unlike many students who preferred the safety of classrooms or laboratories, Jeremy learned best through direct, hands-on experience. During university summers, Jeremy worked at the Bristol Zoo's aquarium. There, he learned to handle piranhas and other dangerous species, gaining confidence in his ability to stay calm under pressure. One memorable incident involved a colleague who accidentally placed his hand in a piranha tank, resulting in a minor injury. While others panicked, Jeremy stayed calm and observed the fish's behavior, using the event as a learning opportunity. These experiences taught him not only about fish, but also about how humans interact with dangerous wildlife. Over time, he developed a fearless approach that would later define his work on television. Jeremy's early career was shaped by a willingness to take risks. He often worked alone in rivers at night, studying fish migration, spawning patterns, and river ecosystems. These efforts were risky, but they produced valuable scientific data. He became recognized as a dedicated researcher, and professors praised his work as thorough and accurate. He was not simply interested in fish as creatures. He studied them to understand the ecosystems they lived in and the environmental challenges threatening their survival. These lessons in conservation became central to his philosophy and would influence the way he presented nature on television. While he pursued his studies, Jeremy also honed his survival skills. He learned first aid, developed strategies for staying calm in emergencies, and practiced navigating rivers in difficult conditions. Each experience built confidence and resilience. When his television career began years later, these skills became vital in dangerous situations, including encounters with giant fish, strong currents, and remote locations. Jeremy's early life, characterized by curiosity, careful observation, and hands-on experience, had prepared him for the extraordinary adventures that lay ahead. Jeremy's passion for fish and rivers was not limited to academic study. He often ventured into remote areas to observe species that were little known or difficult to catch. He carried notebooks to record his observations and developed techniques for catching and releasing fish safely. By combining scientific rigor with practical experience, he created a unique skill set. Friends and colleagues recognized him as fearless, focused, and incredibly knowledgeable, a combination that would make him a natural leader in expeditions and later on television. In addition to his scientific work, Jeremy continued to face personal challenges. Family expectations, social pressures, and occasional setbacks required persistence and determination. Through it all, his fascination with rivers and their inhabitants never wavered. He learned that success required both patience and courage, a combination that would define the way he approached every river, pond, or lake. By the early 1980s, Jeremy had begun to establish a reputation in professional circles for his work with freshwater fish and dangerous aquatic species. His meticulous records, combined with first-hand knowledge, made him an authority in his field. At the same time, he was preparing for a new chapter, sharing his experiences with a wider audience. While his early life had been private and personal, Jeremy recognized the power of television to bring attention to the wonders of rivers and the creatures that lived in them. Jeremy Wade's television career began as a way to combine his scientific knowledge with his passion for adventure. His series, River Monsters, brought viewers along on expeditions to find some of the world's largest and most dangerous freshwater fish. Unlike other wildlife shows, Jeremy's approach was both educational and thrilling. He combined detailed explanations of biology and ecology with suspenseful encounters, often in remote and challenging locations. Audiences were captivated not just by the monsters he pursued, but by his courage, respect for wildlife, and dedication to truth. During the filming of River Monsters, Jeremy faced real danger. He navigated strong currents, battled heavy equipment, and handled species capable of serious harm. Giant catfish, Goliath tigerfish, and arapaima were not just television props. They were living, powerful creatures. Jeremy's scientific approach required him to observe carefully, plan meticulously, and always respect the natural behavior of these animals. Many of the situations were tense, and his survival skills, honed over decades of experience, were tested repeatedly. Despite these dangers, he remained calm, focused, and determined to capture authentic footage for viewers. What made Jeremy's work unique was his refusal to exaggerate or fabricate. While networks sometimes suggested dramatization for ratings, Jeremy insisted on honesty. He wanted viewers to understand rivers, fish, and ecosystems as they truly existed, not as entertainment. This commitment sometimes meant rejecting high-paying offers or difficult compromises. But it earned him credibility and respect in both scientific and television communities. Audiences trusted him, knowing that his adventures reflected genuine risk, expertise, and fascination. Beyond television, Jeremy used his platform to promote conservation. Many freshwater habitats face pollution, overfishing, and human disruption. Through interviews, public appearances, and the narratives in his shows, Jeremy highlighted the importance of protecting rivers and the species within them. He encouraged viewers not just to watch monsters on a screen, but to appreciate and care for the real rivers and ecosystems around the world. Jeremy Wade's career demonstrates the power of curiosity, persistence, and courage. From a boy with a garden cane fishing rod to a world-famous river explorer, his life shows that passion and dedication can turn childhood interests into lifelong achievements. His meticulous observations, fearless explorations, and respect for nature have inspired countless people to learn more about freshwater life, explore their own surroundings, and approach the natural world with wonder and responsibility. Today, Jeremy continues to explore rivers, write about his experiences, and inspire audiences around the world. His story is not just about catching giant fish, it is about the joy of discovery, the importance of careful observation, and the courage to follow one's passion even in the face of danger and doubt. From Aldershot to the rivers of South America, Africa, and Asia, Jeremy Wade's journey shows what it means to live a life guided by curiosity, respect for nature, and relentless pursuit of knowledge. Jeremy Wade was born on March 23, 1956, in Aldershot, a small and quiet town in Hampshire, England. Life in Aldershot seemed calm and ordinary. Families were recovering from the aftermath of World War II, and people valued stability and routines. Streets were quiet, children played safely, and adults focused on work and maintaining their homes. Jeremy's father was an architect, spending his days designing buildings, while his mother looked after the family and household with careful attention. On the surface, everything about Jeremy's childhood appeared normal, even uneventful, but inside him there was an unusual spark of curiosity. From a very young age, he was fascinated by the natural world, and nothing seemed to satisfy him more than discovering, observing, and learning about the living creatures around him. This curiosity would grow steadily, shaping his personality and eventually determining his life path. And Jeremy's first memorable encounter with rivers and fish happened when he was just 5 years old. During a family trip to a nearby river, he decided to make his own fishing rod using garden canes and string. It looked extremely fragile and silly, but Jeremy was determined. He baited his makeshift hook with a small piece of bread and lowered it into the water. To his surprise and excitement, he felt a tug and pulled up a tiny perch. That small fish might have seemed insignificant to anyone else, but to Jeremy, it was a revelation. It ignited a passion that would stay with him for life. From that moment, he begged his parents to take him fishing every weekend. Even at school, his fascination with fish showed up in unusual ways. He once brought dried fish heads to show his teachers and classmates. While other children spent their time kicking footballs or climbing trees, Jeremy preferred sitting quietly by streams, studying the movement of fish and the patterns of water. He noticed details that others ignored: the way shadows moved under the water, the currents near rocks, or the behavior of insects on the river's surface. These early experiences nurtured in him qualities such as patience, observation, and attention to detail, all of which would define his career as a scientist and explorer. During the 1960s, Jeremy spent much of his free time wandering through ponds, streams, and countryside paths near his home. He carried a notebook wherever he went, drawing sketches of fish, frogs, insects, and other creatures he found along the way. By the age of 7, he was already labeling species with real scientific names. He loved visiting the library, and soon became known to the staff by name because he visited so frequently, sometimes multiple times a week. His notebooks were filled with careful observations, measurements, and illustrations. These early habits were more than a hobby. They were a rigorous form of self-education. Jeremy was learning about ecosystems, predator-prey relationships, and animal behavior without anyone instructing him formally. His curiosity was insatiable, and his methodical approach showed a discipline uncommon in children his age. However, Jeremy's curiosity sometimes put him in dangerous situations. At 10, he heard rumors about a giant eel living in a muddy stream near his home. Driven by excitement and determination, he rushed to the stream to see it for himself, but slipped and fell into the water and mud. He was rescued by a passerby, and his family, understandably worried, forbade him from exploring rivers alone. But Jeremy's fascination could not be contained. He began sneaking out at night, carrying a small net, his notebook, and a need to discover every hidden corner of the river. 1 year later, after moving to Iping, he discovered an abandoned tackle shop. What looked like a dusty, forgotten place to most people was a treasure trove for Jeremy. Every night, he borrowed old rods and hooks and fished quietly until dawn. Even landing a small roach felt like a victory, and he meticulously measured and recorded every detail. When Jeremy started at Uppingham School in 1968, his love for rivers and fish remained central to his life. While other students were focused on sports or games, Jeremy turned empty classrooms into small laboratories. He filled them with jars, sketches, and specimens he collected from rivers and ponds. His classmates called him the Fish Whisperer because of his uncanny ability to predict when fish would spawn and how they would behave in different conditions. Family trips to the Scottish Highlands gave him more opportunities to explore rivers and catch fish, including his first salmon. Unlike many young people, he did not keep the fish. He released it, demonstrating a respect for wildlife that became a cornerstone of his philosophy. By 16, Jeremy had already faced several dangerous experiences. During a school biology project on the Norfolk Broads, a sudden storm capsized his small boat. Cold water surrounded him, and he had to swim for over 2 miles while clutching a fish bag. These incidents were terrifying, but crucial in teaching him about the power and unpredictability of water, survival skills, and resilience. These traits, patience, courage, and observation, would later define his career as a professional river explorer. Even as university approached, Jeremy remained focused on zoology, despite his father urging him to pursue engineering for a safer career path. By the time he graduated from school, his notebooks contained sketches, scientific observations, and a monster list of giant freshwater fish he dreamed of encountering. Goliath tigerfish, arapaima, giant catfish, creatures that would eventually become the stars of his professional expeditions and television series. After finishing school in 1974, Jeremy Wade enrolled at the University of Kent to study zoology, with a focus on freshwater ecology. From the very beginning, he approached his studies with the same curiosity, intensity, and dedication that had defined his childhood. He was fascinated by the behavior, growth, and migration of freshwater fish, especially large species like the European catfish, which could grow over 3 meters long and weigh more than 130 kilograms. While many students preferred classroom work or laboratory studies, Jeremy learned best through hands-on exploration. He spent hours in rivers, observing fish, collecting specimens, and analyzing aquatic ecosystems. Some of these rivers were difficult to access or polluted, but he did not shy away from challenges. Through direct observation, he developed skills and insights that were far beyond typical academic study. During university summers, Jeremy worked at the Bristol Zoo Aquarium, where he handled piranhas and other potentially dangerous species. He learned how to stay calm under pressure and understand the behavior of fish in stressful situations. On one occasion, a colleague accidentally put his hand in a tank of piranhas and received a small injury. While others panicked, Jeremy remained calm, observed the fish, and used the event as a learning experience. These moments were not only exciting, they were formative. Jeremy's fearless approach to handling dangerous animals and navigating aquatic environments became a hallmark of his career. Jeremy's early career was also marked by independent exploration. He often went alone to study fish migration, spawning patterns, and the ecosystems of rivers at night. These solo expeditions were risky, but provided valuable scientific data. Professors and peers admired his dedication, precision, and thorough documentation. For Jeremy, fish were not just creatures to catch. They were windows into the complex ecosystems of rivers, lakes, and streams. He began understanding the environmental challenges facing freshwater habitats, including pollution, overfishing, and habitat loss. These lessons in conservation became central to his philosophy and would later shape the way he communicated his adventures on television. Survival skills became a critical part of Jeremy's early work. He learned first aid, emergency preparedness, and navigation. He practiced responding to dangerous river conditions, storms, and encounters with large animals. These experiences built confidence, resilience, and self-reliance. By combining scientific knowledge with practical skills, Jeremy created a unique expertise that few could match. He became recognized not only as a researcher, but also as an adventurer, ready to face real danger in pursuit of knowledge. Strong. Beyond professional and scientific development, Jeremy faced personal challenges. Family expectations, societal pressures, and occasional setbacks tested his persistence. Despite these challenges, he remained committed to exploring rivers and studying fish. He developed techniques for catching and releasing large freshwater fish safely, combining scientific rigor with hands-on experience. Friends and colleagues noted his courage, focus, and meticulous approach to research, which made him a natural leader during expeditions. By the early 1980s, Jeremy had established a reputation as an expert in freshwater ecosystems and dangerous aquatic species. His detailed records, careful observation, and hands-on experience set him apart in professional circles. At the same time, he began to see the potential of sharing his discoveries with the public. While his early work had been private, he realized that television could be a powerful medium to educate people about rivers, fish, and environmental challenges. This realization would mark the beginning of a new chapter in his life, bringing the wonders and dangers of freshwater ecosystems to audiences worldwide. Jeremy Wade's television career began as a way to combine his scientific knowledge with his love for adventure. His series, River Monsters, introduced viewers to some of the world's largest and most dangerous freshwater fish. Unlike other wildlife shows, Jeremy's approach combined education with suspense. He carefully explained the biology and behavior of fish while taking viewers along on thrilling expeditions in remote, challenging locations. Audiences were captivated, not just by the monsters he hunted, but by Jeremy himself, his calm demeanor, courage, and deep respect for wildlife. Filming river monsters was not without danger. Jeremy often navigated strong currents, heavy equipment, and animals capable of serious harm. Giant catfish, Goliath tigerfish, and arapaima were not props. They were living, powerful creatures. Jeremy had to plan carefully, observe every movement, and respect natural behavior. His survival skills, honed over decades of river exploration, were tested repeatedly. Even when situations became tense, he remained focused and calm, ensuring that viewers received authentic and educational content. What set Jeremy apart was his commitment to honesty. While networks sometimes suggested exaggerating encounters for higher ratings, Jeremy refused. He wanted viewers to see rivers and fish as they truly were. This approach earned him respect and credibility in both scientific and television communities. People trusted his expertise because they knew he would not fabricate events or exaggerate danger for drama. Beyond television, Jeremy used his platform to promote conservation. Freshwater habitats face threats from pollution, overfishing, and human activity, and he highlighted these challenges on screen and in public appearances. He encouraged viewers to care for real rivers, understand ecosystems, and respect the natural world. Through interviews, writing, and expeditions, he inspired people to explore, learn, and engage with nature responsibly. Jeremy Wade's journey, from a curious boy with a makeshift fishing rod to a world-famous river explorer, is a story of curiosity, courage, and dedication. His meticulous observations, fearless adventures, and respect for life have inspired countless viewers to appreciate freshwater ecosystems. Today, he continues to explore rivers, document discoveries, and educate audiences around the world. His legacy shows that following your passion with determination, patience, and respect for nature can lead to extraordinary achievements. From Aldershot to the rivers of Africa, South America, and Asia, Jeremy Wade's life demonstrates the power of curiosity, careful observation, and the courage to pursue knowledge, no matter the challenges. Jeremy Wade was born on March 23, 1956, in Aldershot, a small and peaceful town in Hampshire, England. Life there was quiet and predictable. Streets were calm, children played safely outside, and families focused on their daily routines. Jeremy's father was an architect, designing buildings, while his mother took care of the home and the family with careful attention. To the outside world, everything about Jeremy's childhood seemed ordinary. But inside him, there was a spark, a natural curiosity about the world that set him apart from other children. From the very beginning, Jeremy was fascinated by nature, especially rivers, streams, and the creatures that lived in them. When he was 5 years old, Jeremy had his first unforgettable encounter with fishing. During a family trip to a nearby river, he made a fishing rod from garden canes and string. It looked flimsy, and anyone watching might have laughed, but Jeremy was determined. He baited his hook with a tiny piece of bread and lowered it into the water. To his surprise and delight, a small perch tugged at the line. That little fish ignited a passion that would stay with him for life. Jeremy begged his parents to take him fishing every weekend, and this interest quickly became more than a hobby. At school, he even brought dried fish heads to show his teachers and classmates. much to their surprise. Unlike other children, who spent time kicking footballs or climbing trees, Jeremy preferred sitting quietly by streams, studying the movement of fish, the way water flowed, and the insects that danced on the river's surface. He noticed details that most people ignored, such as how shadows shifted under the water, the way currents formed near rocks, and the behavior of fish when predators approached. These early experiences taught him patience, observation, and careful attention to detail, skills that would become central to his career as a scientist and explorer. By the age of 7, Jeremy carried a notebook everywhere he went. He sketched fish, frogs, insects, and plants, labeling species with their scientific names. He spent hours in the local library, and the staff quickly recognized him because of how often he visited. His notebooks were not just casual drawings. They were careful records of observations, measurements, and illustrations. Even without formal training, Jeremy was learning about ecosystems, predator-prey relationships, and animal behavior. This early self-education showed a level of dedication uncommon in children his age. But Jeremy's curiosity sometimes put him in danger. At 10, he heard rumors of a giant eel in a muddy stream near his home. Driven by excitement, he ran to see it himself, but he slipped into the water and mud. Most people would have ignored it, but to him, it was a treasure chest. Every night, he borrowed old fishing rods and hooks and fished quietly until dawn. Even catching a small roach felt like a victory, and he carefully recorded every detail in his notebook. Each experience, no matter how small, added to his growing knowledge and fueled his passion. By 1968, Jeremy began attending Uppingham School. While other students focused on sports or games, Jeremy turned empty classrooms into small laboratories. He filled them with jars, sketches, and specimens he had collected from rivers and ponds. Classmates called him the Fish Whisperer because of his ability to predict when fish would spawn or how they would behave in different conditions. Family trips to the Scottish Highlands gave him more opportunities to explore rivers and catch fish. Unlike many young people, he did not keep the fish he caught, but released them, showing an early respect for nature. By 16, Jeremy had faced real dangers. During a school biology project on the Norfolk Broads, a sudden storm capsized his small boat. Cold water surrounded him, and he had to swim over 2 miles while holding on to a fish bag. These incidents were terrifying, but also formative, teaching him survival, resilience, and the unpredictable power of rivers. He learned to respect nature while continuing to pursue his curiosity. Even as university approached, Jeremy remained determined to follow his passion. Despite his father urging him to pursue engineering for a safer career path, he chose zoology. By the time he graduated from school, his notebooks were filled with careful observations, sketches, and a monster list of giant freshwater fish he dreamed of encountering: Goliath tigerfish, arapaima, and giant catfish. These species would eventually define his professional expeditions and television career. Jeremy's childhood was marked by curiosity, courage, and a desire to explore. Every small adventure, every sketch, and every dangerous encounter built a foundation for a life spent studying rivers, fish, and wildlife. His story shows how passion, patience, and careful observation can lead to extraordinary achievements. From Aldershot to the rivers of Africa and South America, Jeremy's journey began with a single fish, a makeshift rod, and a child's insatiable curiosity. After finishing school in 1974, Jeremy Wade enrolled at the University of Kent to study zoology, focusing on freshwater ecology. From the start, he approached his studies with the same intensity, curiosity, and dedication that had defined his childhood. He was fascinated by the behavior, growth, and migration of freshwater fish, particularly large species like the European catfish, which could grow over 3 meters long and weigh more than 130 kilograms. While many students preferred classroom work or laboratory studies, Jeremy learned best by exploring rivers, observing fish directly, and collecting specimens from natural habitats. During university summers, he worked at the Bristol Zoo Aquarium, handling piranhas and other potentially dangerous species. These experiences taught him how to remain calm under pressure, understand the behavior of fish, and respond safely to danger. On one occasion, a colleague accidentally put his hand in a tank of piranhas and received a small injury. While others panicked, Jeremy stayed calm, observed the fish, and turned the incident into a valuable learning experience. These experiences were thrilling, but also formative, giving him the confidence and skills he would need in later expeditions. Jeremy's early career was marked by independent exploration. He frequently went alone to rivers, studying fish migration, spawning patterns, and ecosystems at night. These solo expeditions were risky, but they provided invaluable data and taught him how to survive in challenging conditions. Professors and peers admired his dedication, precision, and meticulous documentation. For Jeremy, fish were not just creatures to catch. They were windows into complex ecosystems that required careful study and respect. During these years, he also became aware of environmental challenges. Rivers and freshwater habitats were threatened by pollution, overfishing, and habitat loss. Jeremy's direct observations of these issues shaped his conservation philosophy and reinforced his commitment to protecting wildlife. He began sharing his findings with colleagues and participating in projects to preserve freshwater ecosystems. Survival skills became central to Jeremy's work. He learned first aid, navigation, and how to respond to emergencies in rivers or remote locations. Dangerous encounters, such as navigating strong currents, storms, or aggressive fish, honed his resilience. He developed techniques for safely catching and releasing large fish, combining scientific rigor with practical experience. By the early 1980s, Jeremy had established a reputation as an expert in freshwater ecology and dangerous aquatic species. Personal challenges also tested him during these years. Family expectations, societal pressures, and occasional setbacks threatened to distract him, but Jeremy remained focused. Friends and colleagues recognized his courage, focus, and meticulous approach to research, which made him a natural leader during expeditions. Around this time, Jeremy realized the potential of sharing his discoveries with the public. While his early work had been private, he saw that television could educate people about rivers, fish, and environmental threats. This insight marked the start of a new chapter in his life. Using media to bring freshwater adventures and